An assembly is a collection of products placed together in such a way that they serve a purpose. Most of the components that you see around are assemblies. For example, a phone is an assembly consisting of components like keypad, screen, SIM card, and many chips and screws inside. Ceiling fan is a collection of wings, ball bearings, motors, screws, etc. An assembly can have a sub-assembly. Like pen has refill cap and base container. A refill itself is an assembly of plastic ink container and the tip for writing. So refill is a sub-assembly fitted into an assembly. Now that we have learned modeling products, let us move on to assembling them. The Assemble option in Fusion 360 will allow us to position different parts with respect to each other and also leave some degrees of freedom to move if required. I am creating a new file and going to save it as Train Toys. Now I am going to the data panel and going to get my parts one by one. When I right click on a part, if I click open, the part will open. But if I click insert into current design, this part will be inserted into the assembly. Now it is asking me for the correct position. Currently, whatever position is there, I am going to say OK. Similarly, I'll be getting another component. I'll right click and say insert into current design, or I can even pull it into the current design. So I'm closing this data panel. Now it is again asking me for the positions. So I'm going to click cancel. I can move it over here so that I can see this component. The first component that we see here can be grounded. That is, with respect to this component, I'll be assembling the other parts to this. So I'm going to ground this component. So I'm going to first see my browser, and here I have this train. I'll just right click and say ground. You can see the small grounding symbol that is appearing near this part. So let us start assembling it. Now this portion should go inside this portion. So I'm going to assemble and click on joint. The shortcut key is J. Here you can see I've got a command. Now, as you have seen, I had pulled this component. So it is asking me whether it needs to capture the same position or it can continue in the previous position. If I say continue, it will continue in the previous position. For example, if I'm clicking continue, you can see it has come back to the old position. But I want this to be at this position so that I can see this product properly, as otherwise it was intersecting with the previous product. So now I'm going to assemble and joint. I'm going to click on capture position so that this remains here itself. Now here I have got component 1 and component 2. In component 1, whatever object I am going to select, that will be moved to component 2. That is, here I am going to select this option. So this point that I am going to select is going to be coincided with another exactly similar point that I am going to pick on component 2. So here I am clicking this. My next component is going to be this. Anyway, there's only one left, and because it is grounded, anyway this component will come to this. But even if it is not grounded, the first component will always be moved to the component 2. So here it is showing me different options where I can select. I'm going to select this position because it should be exactly seated over here. So now again it is asking me the exact position. But as this seems okay to me, because I want it to exactly coincide with this. But if I want to give an offset distance, I can very well give. I can even enter it over here. Now, because this is a static component, it is not going to be rotating or sliding over it. I'm going to pick rigid option and again going to give 0 mm in all directions. So we have assembled the first component. Let's bring in another component, train 3. So here again I'm clicking insert into current design and I'm closing the data panel. So again I'm just clicking cancel so that it is randomly shown over here. Now if you see here, after going through the drawing given, I understand that this should be placed here and again tightened using a screw, which is actually the train 4 component. So again I'm going to click J in my keyboard. Now it is asking me continue or capture position. I'm going for capture position. And now if you see, I'm selecting this portion, this top portion, and then I'm clicking near this position. So you can see actually it has gone inside. So I can flip the direction. For clarity, let me show you in wireframe mode. It has gone inside. So I can click on flip so that it is coming outside. Let me turn and see. Yes, it has exactly come to the position. I'm clicking OK. Let's get another component. So from the data panel, I'm going to choose train 4 and I'm going to insert it into the current design. So here again I'm clicking cancel. I'm getting this component over here. Now this portion or this outer portion has to exactly mate with this portion of the screw. So I'm going to select J and say capture position, and my component 1's position is this. So this and this should coincide. So see that you are selecting only the outer portion. Now it is intact. Now I'm going to get train 9 portion. I even have to add the wheels, but as the wheels themselves are an assembly, we will do it in another file and get that sub-assembly into this file. Let us bring the next component, that is train 9, and insert into the current design. So again I'm clicking cancel and I'm closing the data panel. So if you see here, this portion or this face should exactly meet with this portion. Simultaneously, these extrusions should be able to go inside this portion. So here I'm clicking J for joint and I'm saying capture position, and you can see here I'm selecting this portion and sorry, I think the component 2 was also selected. So again I'm selecting it. So this is the portion to which it should be mated. So now you can see that all the others are also in position. We can find it using wireframe and see how all the other extrusions are also properly placed. I'm again going to shaded portion. So all these are rigid joints, that is they will not be able to move. Now I'm going to create a new assembly file and going to save as train wheel assembly. Here I'll be first assembling all the components of the wheel. So from my data panel, I will be selecting the wheel and I'm clicking OK, and then I'm going to ground this component, because with respect to this component I'll be assembling the other components. So here you can see this train 6. So this I'm going to insert into current design. Just clicking cancel and just pulling it out. Now I'm clicking J for joint, capturing this position. This is going to be my point, and which should exactly come over here. But the direction should be the other way, so I have flipped it. So I click OK. So this is the wheel assembly that I have created. I can save this and now open it or bring it to the train toys assembly.
Now let us bring the sub-assembly over here. Go to data panel and here it is, train wheels assembly. Right click and say insert to current design. So here we have our sub-assembly. So you can see that the whole sub-assembly moves together. That is, the two parts are already joined together, so they move together. Now let us select the point which has to be assembled. So this works same as how we have seen previously. Click J and click capture position, select this portion. Though it looks like we are selecting one component, but we are actually selecting the whole subassembly. They will not be moving independent of each other. So you can see I have assembled it over here. Now, because this is a wheel, I should not be keeping it as rigid because these wheels will be moving. So here I will be changing this option from rigid to revolute. So it will show the animation also how it will revolve. Here you can just see the right axis. The previous one was right. So I'm going to stick with it and say OK. So good to go. We have to assemble 3 more sub-assemblies over here. Now let us assemble the final sub-assembly. Click J and capture position and select the right constraints. Let us flip it and we are good to go. You can click on animate and keep checking if the constraints are correct or not. Then click OK. So here we have the complete train assembly.
Let us bring the last portion, insert into current design, the train 7 part. So here I have this part, I'm clicking cancel and I'm closing the data panel. Now I have one of this part in this portion and again the other part connecting these two wheels. So first let me assemble it with these two things. So I'm going for J, capture position, selecting this and this. So here if you can see, it is going to touch that portion. So going inside, so I'll just say flip direction and I'm allowing this z-axis revolution. Then for the second portion again, I have to assemble it with this wheel also. So I'm selecting this portion and this assembly. So I'm clicking OK and you can see these two wheels, the position here is automatically aligned because that is the only possible position. Now when I'm rotating, you can see both the wheels will be rotated. By applying the same constraints, I have put the train 7 part in correct position even for these two wheels. So here if you see, these two rods have to move in tandem with each other. That is, they cannot move independently, but they have to move together. So I need to give one more joint option. So here I'm going to select J and capture position, and if you see this plane that I've selected, and this plane should be in the same plane or parallel to this. So I'm selecting this point. You can see here now one is lying on the other. Now I'm going for flip direction. Now again I can say OK. Here I can go to right click and edit joint. Instead of rigid, I can give planar and then click OK. So now both these options, you can see if I am moving one, the other also will be moved. So I'm here keeping it at the bottom. You can rotate and see here at the bottom you have the same movement. So the small things that you see here are of course the constraints that you have given. So I can, if you have seen, all our joints appear below. So I can right click and edit any joint that I need.